I don't understand why Brett Brown continues to make this team something it's not. Sometimes you as a coach need to accept with what you have as a team, the talent, the skill set, and readjust. If you're not going to be able to adjust for the rest of the season, the second half of the season, then the Sixers need to move on from Brett Brown. Brett Brown is the problem right now. Brett Brown is trying to make this team something they are not. Welcome to the ChadBurn Show, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin. Welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, as always, M. ChadBurn, and running the behind the scenes, the wonderful, the amazing, our producer, Julien Ramboise. Say hello, Julien. Well, folks, we have a great episode for you now, up to episode 22 of the ChadBurn Show. It is now officially the first weekend away from football. That is right. Football season is done. So we'll be now moving to the next sport that we all love to cover. This baby basketball. There's going to be a lot more Sixers talk, a lot more random kind of sports stories out there that are interesting to me, that I want to kind of talk about, rant about, create some kind of buzz about. So there will be more stuff going on that's not just Eagles focused. We will continue to bring them in. But as always, the football season is over. Super Bowl's done, so we have to move on. We'll keep a track because obviously, it's just a few months to wait till the next football season. That's all we're hoping, excited for, but we'll have to cover some other things for now. So today on the show, I want to cover three main points. One is I'm going to look at a not a new show, but a new season of a show on Amazon Prime that I find very interesting and will keep us connected a bit to football. Keep that going. Number two, got to talk to 76ers, okay? Facing the Milwaukee Bucks, they lost again to a good team. They beat up a decent team at home. That road record versus home, the shortcomings we're seeing, the issues in the locker room, all that needs to be discussed and unloaded on. So we will discuss that as well. And then finally, which was exciting last week on Thursday, we had the NBA trade deadline. Some very exciting news coming out of that. A lot of big trades, a lot of movement, right to the last freaking second of Thursday on the deadline trading block. A lot of cool players moved, a lot of movement in the East, a lot of movement in the West. So we are going to cover the big names in those trades and kind of discuss a little bit about how that might affect, for example, the 76ers in their playoff run to trying in the finals. Do they look like a finals team? I don't think so. But anyway, so talking some, we're going to talk a little football show, 76ers, and the NBA trade line. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to discuss is just because it's fun for me, and I saw it the other day. There is a show on Amazon Prime that's an Emmy-winning show. It is called All or Nothing. Now, if you've heard of this, you know that they basically follow a team similar to Hard Knocks does. They follow a football team throughout the preseason as they get ready for the regular season, kind of the process of how they make the team. All or Nothing just really follows a team for a whole season, kind of looking at the struggles, the things they face, the adversity, what makes up that team, and just giving you a behind-the-scenes look to their season. They've done international soccer clubs, they've done NFL football teams, they've done basketball teams. They've really kind of looked at a lot of different sports, so it's not really focused, it's not pigeonholed, I should say, to any one league or particular sport. But for their fifth season, they're now covering the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, that's right. We get an inside look to this 2019 season, this campaign to try and get back to the Super Bowl, to the playoff run. And really, it's a great show. I think if you are not even completely focused on the sport or not really that into necessarily the teams, the documentary itself is fascinating. Great production, great storytelling. It's really just a great show on its own. But to an Eagles fan, there's a couple things to it. One, it's fascinating. We love seeing the players. We love getting to know them more. We love kind of trying to get into their lives because we feel, we watch them every week. We are so obsessed with them for months. It is cool to kind of get to know the person more rather than just the player. On the other hand, if you are an Eagles fan, and particularly for this season, which was such a painful up and down one, There are a lot of wounds that open up here. It's tough. Like the first episode alone really gets you thinking about you as a fan, how much you support this team, how much hope you had for this season, and then really what it all came to be. With the injuries, with the slow start to the season, with the high expectations we as a fan base had, all of that together to create really a story that to me was painful. It was hard to relook at that. So just start off, obviously no spoilers, but the early part of the season, the first few episodes are obviously looking at the off season and the first few weeks for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the main one that I just felt like we had to talk about was just incredible because they showed how on paper this team going into this season was thought to be one of the greatest rosters the Eagles had put together for a season. There was huge hopes, high expectations, thoughts that we for sure would at least be competitive going for a run to the Super Bowl, that this team for sure could get us back to the promised land, that this team for sure would beat all past records and be one of the most dynamic offensive teams we see, with, at the beginning, listed as one of the most athletically gifted wide receiver corps. Where did we end up? It's insane to see how we went from believing we had one of the most athletic receiving corps in the NFL to ending up with no receiver over 500 yards, ending up with players that finished out the season with us who were on the practice squad for the first half of the season, players that came off the streets just to get in, that they were just hoping to fill gaps. It was insane. We went from Deshaun Jackson, who they really highlight this well, the strong relationship we had with Wentz, their practice on the deep ball, how that we'd seen that in the first week of the Redskins, how there was that threat, that deep threat. We saw Jeffrey and Aguilar have it, but then all of a sudden the drops. Having Jeffries and Jackson out in week 2 with non-contact injuries, how that affected us, how the psyche of the wide receiver corps was starting getting depleted because they were dropping those passes in late game situations that they could have won. It's just incredible to see how hyped up this team was to then the realistic expectation we had at the end of the season, where we were like, oh, it's great they made the playoffs, a bad NFC East, it was terrible competition, so we were able to get in there, to then the concussion to Carson Wentz. So it really is fascinating to see the whole progression of how the season went from really high here to all of a sudden being so low to middle to the end of that season, where I basically said they had no hope to make the playoffs, that there was this garbage team, that this is a team that had no identity. And in reality, that was what it came down to. But we did see, obviously, them spark with a little life going to the playoffs. They had that amazing run, the 4 games in a row, beating all the rivals in the division to then take the title for the NFC East and go to the playoffs with what looked like a good chance to beat the Seahawks until Wentz getting out. But I do, if you are an Eagles fan, if you are a football fan, if you just enjoy well-produced documentaries, this is a great show to watch. Again, it's really fascinating to see where we were as a team before week 1 and even after week 1, and just the hype after seeing Deshaun Jackson catch 250-plus yard catches for touchdowns, what it could have been. And even just reliving like the drop pass by Aguilar in the week 2 against the Falcons, the fumble by Aguilar week 3 in the Lions game, the drop by J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the Lions game, how there was just one play in each game that could have given us the win. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I hope for the Eagles and their franchise, they can see something like this, even review it themselves to try and fix and make those corrections for the next season. Because again, this could be a very talented team on paper. It all comes down to how they will execute, how the offense will improve. There needs to be big steps in the way Dougie P calls those games. There needs to be consistency. There needs to be an identity from the first kickoff of the game to the ending last whistle. And again, replenishing that wide receiver core and making it healthy and athletic and trying to make it that it can be durable for a whole season. We can't have the injuries we had this year. It's going to be impossible. And also, again, fixing the cornerback position of the Eagles, getting that secondary tough and ready to go. But yeah, I think an excellent show. A lot to unpack and a lot for us to look inward and kind of think more about us as a team and franchise and where we go for next season. But that's why I want to first talk about, because I just come across it. I, as a fan, is so into it. I burned through the first few episodes very quickly. John Hamm narrates. It's very cool. The whole shebang, and gives you definitely good insight also into Laurie, the leadership team, and the coaching staff. But I can't keep continuing to bring up football. Football is over. I need to come to grips with that fact and stop holding on to these little bits of it. This show luckily keeps me, gives me continue to fuel that hunger, that desire for the next season. But we are in the thick of it with the NBA. We are almost halfway there with the All-Star game coming up. This is really, it's now basketball season. It's time for us to evaluate the Sixers, where they're at, and what they are as a team. And I will tell you something, it's not looking good. The Sixers are a team that came into this season we thought was going to be the most dominant defensive team, that they were going to get enough production in the offense to be able, because their opponents will score less. We were going to get enough production for them to win a lot of games, that this could be a team that would make it to the finals, and then we have a lot of hope for that. Instead, we have a 5th-seeded team in the East. They are 9-19 on the road and 23-2 at home. So we have a team that can win at home, can't play squat on the road, and as we're seeing with the most recent loss to the Bucks, cannot beat good teams. They have had impressive wins throughout this season, but on a consistent level, they do not show up for the big games. Yes, they just beat the Grizzlies, who are not a bad team or any measure. The Grizzlies right now, let's check it out. The Grizzlies are, I believe, the 8th seed. Yeah, 8th seed in the West. So they're not great. They're not terrible. John Morant's been playing great. They have a lot of young talent that's making them competitive. But again, it's a team that the Sixers should be expected to beat. The team they needed to beat, the team they need to make a statement against, are the Milwaukee Bucks, the favorites in the East and the 1 seed. If you're going to say that you can go toe-to-toe with that team in the playoffs, you can get to the finals, you can beat them in a 7-game match, you need to be at least competitive throughout the whole season and every game you play them. This game wasn't. They allowed open shots. They allowed the Bucks to get what they want inside and out. And again, the problem I see with the Sixers team is too many three-pointers. They had, in that game, and I kind of want to pull it up there. Yeah, they had 45 three-point attempts. They made 19. Granted, 42% from 3. Not bad, but that's a lot of three-pointers to taking away from the other field goals. And on top of that, while they had an okay field goal percentage at 3, they were 37% shooting on the rest of the field. How does that happen? And their three-pointers were almost half of the shots they took. What frustrates me to no end is, yes, they get streaky like this and get 42 minutes, but this is not a three-point shooting team. You have Korkmaz, you have Tybalt, you have Harris. Horford can sometimes shoot it, so can Embiid. But this is a team with its size that should be dominating the paint. This is a team with a point guard who can get to the hoop with ease because of his size, his speed, his skill. That should be dominating in the paint. I don't understand why Brett Brown continues to make this team something it's not. Sometimes you as a coach need to accept with what you have as a team, the talent, the skill set, and readjust. If you're not going to be able to adjust for the rest of the season, the second half of the season, then the Sixers need to move on from Brett Brown. Brett Brown is the problem right now. Brett Brown is trying to make this team something they are not. I expect more. Brett has been there for this team and has done great things for the Sixers. We have seen sustained playoff runs. We've seen a lot of success with him under its sit, obviously, from the process when we got all the talent we needed. But for whatever reason, he can't get over a hump. And maybe this is the same case as like having an Andy Reid who just couldn't get necessarily the big game when he was here with the Eagles. But, when he went somewhere else, he had more success. Maybe Brett Brown needs a different team. They need to rebuild a different team around him. But you have 2 superstars in both Embiid and Simmons, and that's what you have to work with. And you're not going to get a new team. So work with it. Having Embiid all the way out on the three-point line is ridiculous. He should be posting up down low. I know he's saying it's because they have to spread the floor. I get it's because Simmons needs to try to drive the paint, and that's where you're deadly. And having Embiid down there clog it up is a problem. But I don't see why Embiid has to go all the way to the 3. Can we not get him to the elbow? Can we not do some more pick and roll? Having Simmons and Embiid, that would be incredible. Embiid is a great, obviously, outlet there. He can get the alley-oop. He's a smart player. He can play off the pick and roll. I don't know why this is a problem. But instead, we're constantly just having Ben Simmons probe, kick out, probe, kick out. Ben Simmons goes in, gets a layup. There's no real significant plays with cuts to the basket. I don't see a lot of creativity with the screens down low. I just don't know why we're not playing on the block and dominating the block from a team that's so big. And not to mention, they're not that great on defense. We gave 112 points to the Bucks. We keep consistently giving over 100 points every team, every game. I thought this team was going to hold like most teams to an average of 90 points a game. But the defense is not showing up. I think Simmons has played well. Embiid's trying to get on a campaign to get there, but they don't play cohesively. And we had a guest on last week who made a very good point that it might be time for the Sixers to consider trading one of these superstars. Now, do I want to see either of them go? No. You're never going to get the same value you can get back from a superstar like those two. But there needs to be some change because clearly there is a problem with how they're playing. And it could be coaching. Maybe a better coach could make these two players work together. But Simmons has to at some point. And I've said on this show, I think he's special even without the jump shot. He plays strong defense. He makes moves to the hoop that are incredible. His passing, his vision of the court is beyond anything we've seen before with a lot of point guards we've had come through. Not talking about AI, but since AI. So I think that, the talent we have there is important, but Simmons needs to get a jump shot. There were so many opportunities in the Bucks where he drives down, backs up a bit, they give him space, he has an easy open elbow jumper. And they're not jumping on him because they know he won't take it. So they just have to clog the paint for him. They know if they can get two bodies in the paint, Simmons is done. So so they're not going all the way out to defend him. They're trying to just hedge him and keep him out, and they know he's not going to take the jumper. If he could just have the guts to take that jump shot every once in a while, even just have the threat of having that jump shot, the players will have to play truer on him, create more opportunities for his passing game, and more opportunities for him to get to the basket. He continues to shoot himself in the foot by not taking these jump shot opportunities. I don't get what's wrong with this kid's psyche. He in practice, before the games, shoot-arounds, he's taking jump shots. I don't know why his first instinct is not to go and take that shot. It can't be that embarrassing. And he's going to have we know he can shoot the ball, so if he's within the range at the elbow, we know he couldn't possibly get a few in. The percentage of it going out, sure, may be higher, but at least we know it has a chance of going in. And you keep Horford or Embiid down low to clean up instead of having them sitting out by the three-point line. There's a lot that needs to be fixed with this team. And I think Ben Simmons is one of the more favorites I lean towards because I think Embiid, my problem I've had with Embiid is the durability. He is absolutely a freak. He's a superstar when he's healthy. But Embiid has not shown in any of these off seasons to train to get in better shape. He said constantly, I need to get in better shape. I need to be able to play longer. I need to work on my diet. The guy refuses to take any of those chances during the offseason. He's not improving in those areas. I wish Embiid would get better. I wish Embiid could get healthy enough to get weight off his legs, to allow his legs not to be so sore, to keep himself from not getting injured. The finger thing is a freak thing. I'm not holding that against him. Of course, finger injuries will happen in basketball. The dislocate, it was nasty. He earned that injury. But in general, he can't play the whole game like we want him to. He can't play the minutes we need him to play because he is exhausted, because he's not training the right amount to get ready for this. And we love the guy. He's a great personality. He fits with the Philly persona. But for whatever reason, Embiid cannot be held accountable to get better in his health and in his cardiovascular endurance, in all of that. We saw when Embiid was out how dominant Simmons could be, how even without a jump shot, Simmons could get to the hoop with will because you don't have to wear the clog effect. You have now a smaller game outside. And we see how small ball's working well with the Rockets. And the Sixers have gone with a traditional route of having size and having strength and believing that with a bigger team, they can dominate. But if you're not going to coach in the mindset of having a big team, it won't work. Brett Brown is playing small ball with big men. And it won't ever work in this league right now with how we're playing, with the type of talent we're going up against. If Embiid can't match Giannis Antetokounmpo every time, match up and play at the same level as him, we will not get far in this playoffs. I mean, if you look at who is ahead of the Sixers right now, like we're in the 5th seed, more than likely we would have to play, say the season ended now, the Heat. The Heat dominated us less than a week ago. They completely embarrassed the Sixers, and we would have to take them on in 7 games? No shot. No shot. The Celtics, they've shown they can beat. I'd be confident we're in a series with them. But the Bucks, Raptors, Heat, even the Pacers, now that Oladipo is back, absolutely have the strength to take on the Sixers. It's It's frustrating as a fan because we had such high expectations going into the season. We put so much on the line for them. We believed they could improve. We saw their offseason practices that they were at least getting better in certain areas. But again, Brett Brown continues to not adjust to his players. I wish Tobias Harris could be a superstar. He's just a star, and he'll be great for this team. And with those three, we could be good. But there's a piece. Sorry, I keep saying piss. Because I'm pissed off. There's a piece missing. Glenn Robinson III and Alec Burke are not going to be those pieces. They're not the supporting staff you need to make a championship run. I hope they are able to adjust after the All-Star game without having to fire Brett Brown. But at this point, that's where my stance is. I'd love to hear what you guys think too. And when we post this, I hope you'll be able to give responses on Instagram and on our show. Do you think that we need to get rid of Embiid? Do you think we need to get rid of Simmons? Do we need to change our coaching staff? Do we need to readjust the whole team? Like, that's what we're talking about. Do we need to rebuild the team again? Elton Brand's probably got to go. He has not built a successful team for a deep playoff run. And so, I mean, maybe the defensive side will show better in a 7-game series, but I think we're going to get outshot by a lot of players and a lot of teams. That's my 2 cents on it. We're going to be talking more about the Sixers as we go along, but, it's been really tough trying to stay on top of this team and trying to show support. I mean, 9-19 on the road. No wonder Charles Barkley and Shaq going after these teams, because it makes sense. They're not good. They're not playing well on the road. The 4 seeds ahead of them, only the Heat, have a losing record, but they're 12-14. They're almost at 500 on the road. All the other teams have winning records on the road. Bucks 24-3 at home, 21-4 away. They're playing better away than the Sixers right now at home. That's crazy. Well, enough talking about the Sixers. I think we'll finally end on what was really fun this week in the NBA. We had the NBA trade deadline on Thursday. It was, to say the least, very, very exciting. It was very cool. A lot of great trades came through. I wouldn't say much to necessarily change the tide in on any team. The main one that really stuck out to me because it's in the East, besides the Sixers getting Glenn Robinson III and Alec Burke, whatever great pieces, that's not going to change the team as a whole. Iguodala to the Heat. I did not think this was going to happen. I did not think we were able to get this through, that they were going to get that through and make it work. But they got Iguodala to the Heat. Very, very impressive. Trying to pull up all the details right now to try and see what we had here. Yeah, so Miami got Iguodala. It was Iguodala, and they sent Johnson from Miami to Memphis and part of the swap, and I believe there's a protected pick. But yes, we have Iguodala going to the Heat to make a pretty impressive pairing with obviously Hero, with Dragic, with Butler, with Adebayo. I think that's going to be a really good team. Another team that can shoot and also going to be deadly on defense. Butler's a hustler. He loves guys like Iguodala, people that are going to work day in and day out hard, play hard on both ends of the court. I think, especially with a good coach like Spoelstra, you'll be able to get a veteran in there that knows how to go long in the playoffs. You're going to pair him with another veteran Butler. You have a lot of young talent around that can play, has the durability to play long games. That's a scary team, a very scary team. And the other big trade that's going to be fascinating to see was also DAngelo Russell going to the Timberwolves and Wiggins coming to the Warriors. Now, in my opinion, the Timberwolves got who they wanted. They've been wanting DAngelo Russell for a while. They got him, and Minnesota obviously had to send Andrew Wiggins and a 2021 protected first-round pick and a 2021 second-round pick to Golden State. So you could see that it's really sad to say for Wiggins, but Wiggins went from a first overall pick, someone we saw a huge upside, huge potential, pairing him with Karl-Anthony Towns. Clearly it was there. Then reports coming out with Jimmy Butler couldn't work with them because they're kind of entitled acting. They didn't want to work hard. They didn't want to put in the hours to get what they needed to get done. So you could see that there may be something of work ethic there. There could be a problem where they're not putting in the time to be the elite athletes they could be. And now you see that while the Timberwolves get DAngelo Russell and Wiggins aren't on the same level in most people's opinions. The Timberwolves valued Russell more than Wiggins, and because they had to send over 2 draft picks along with Wiggins to the Warriors. So they're actually saying the Warriors, please just take Wiggins and here's some compensation for giving us DeAngelo Russell. Like, that's how badly they want to get the kid out of there. That's just shocking. And in a lot of ways, I don't see how Golden State really improved. And obviously, this is a season of rebuilding. The Warriors have taken so many injuries. There's no real shot that the Warriors are going to make a run to the finals as we've seen in the past. But having Wiggins, I mean, maybe Wiggins can turn something, and this might be a wake-up call where he knows he needs to work harder. But if he didn't like having Butler on him, there's no way he's going to like having Draymond Green on him. Draymond Green demands excellence, demands hard work, just as Jimmy Butler did. And if Wiggins couldn't stand up with Butler, oh man, there's going to be drama in that locker room with Green. Because Draymond's not going to accept that. He's going to get all over Wiggins the second he starts slacking off. But, I mean, for DeAngelo Russell, I don't think you should take it as a slight. The Timberwolves really want him for a long time. The Warriors saw that they could get value for him. This is not a winning season. They don't need talent like DeAngelo Russell there to make a run. I think Russell was really there as a good filler for if, you had a healthy, obviously Curry, you had a healthy Green, you had a healthy just team as a whole, but everyone just continues to get injured. So I think it makes sense for them to kind of deal that off, get value while you can for them to a team that really wanted this player. And the Wolves could be interesting now. You have DeAngelo Russell paired with Karl-Anthony Towns. Finally, maybe you have that piece that can really help and support Karl-Anthony Towns to become more dominant. We've seen Towns take a very more aggressive stance this season and become way more competitive down the road. So I think it could be a good pairing. I'm very fascinated by this. It was a lot of talk that this was not going to go through, that the pieces just weren't there to make this trade happen, and it did on Thursday. So very cool. I thought. So again, we had Iguodala to the Heat. We had DeAngelo Russell to the Wolves, for Wiggins to the Warriors. And then a lot of other small trades. Wizards trade McRae for Napier from the Nuggets. We had Marcus Morris, who both the Lakers and Clippers were dealing and trying to get from the Knicks. I don't know why you really need Marcus Morris. He's kind of a pain in the ass, but he is obviously a competitor. He's tough in the paint. So Clippers just want him to get strong. And as a lot of commentators are saying, this move was really for both teams, both offensive and defensive. They wanted to keep this player away from their LA rival, whether it be the Lakers or the Clippers. So it is cool that Clippers finally got it. They are also getting Isaiah Thomas. So that would be a great another piece, I think, as a bench player. I love Isaiah Thomas. I've loved his hustle. He's not where he was with the Celtics, but he still has the drive to be competitive. So I think there's a lot of great trade in there for the Clippers, just getting what they can done. They clearly had a lot more they could deal out to the Knicks than the Lakers were a much more appealing trade partner. But yeah, Marcus Morris again. And the other one that was just shocking, and we'll end it on this one, Drummond to the Cavs. And Drummond has shown already his displeasure in this trade. He was not happy to be dealt by the Pistons. He really believed that he had shown and been with that team long enough to earn staying with that team for a long time. A shocking trade, to say the least, to the Cavs. The Cavs, again, could not get Tristan Thompson dealt. They could not deal Kevin Love, who they're trying to get. And now they have Drummond and those three big men on a team that really is not going anywhere. And while, yes, they have young talent developing, I mean, that's just too many big men. I don't know what they're doing bringing Drummond on that. The trade made no sense. Drummond doesn't really add value to the Cavs right now unless they're looking to eventually dump Tristan Thompson or dump Kevin Love. But the Pistons are clearly just trying to make space, get rid of players, start rebuilding so they can start rebuilding this team because Blake Griffin's continue to be injured. The experiment's not working. D Rose is still there, but again, that is a team that not going anywhere soon. So we will see how it goes. And finally, the last one that was very interesting was Capella earlier going to the Hawks. I kind of like that for the Hawks. I think that'll be a weapon for Trae Young. So we'll see how they develop. They're clearly not going on a playoff run this year, but stranger things have happened. So really, it was a very exciting trade deadline. It went all the way to the last minute that trades were being made. One of the more active trades of good named players that we've seen in a long time. The NBA trade deadlines can sometimes be dull, but this was anything but that. So really fascinating and glad to see that we now have a lot of awesome NBA stuff to cover. Football's done, folks. We got NBA. There's a lot to go down. So I think we're going to end it on that. No burn list today. We have no one that's pissed me off this last week, so we will save everyone from that. It's been a fun show. It's the first time I've talked NBA for a long time, for a whole episode. So we are now, the mind has been switched. We are going away from football to basketball, ready to go, ready to get started on that. And again, I want to see how these Sixers will improve following the All-Star game. And will Brett Brown have a job? That's going to be the big thing we follow. Will Brett Brown be able to stick with this team through the whole season? So I hope you enjoyed listening on this show. It's been fun to talk Sixers basketball, the trade deadline. Definitely go out there and check All or Nothing on Amazon Prime. Check out how your Birds did this season. See the behind the scenes. Maybe we'll understand if Jet Freeze really does hate Carson Wentz. Maybe there's a problem there. We'll get to know more about the young players that stepped in to make that team dominant. So definitely check it out. Get to see coaching. I love hearing about Jeff Lurie and how he kind of handles behind the scenes. So really, it's been a fun show. We are now to a new season in sports. This show will become more of a 76ers show as we go on. I will continue to keep you up to date with the Eagles if there's any news to report. But as always, if you'd like to get in contact with the show, you can reach out to us at chadburn.show@gmail.com. Again, that's chadburn.show@gmail.com. Or you can DM me on Instagram at ChadBurn Show. Again, that's at ChadBurn Show. We're always posting content about when our new episodes are. This one, again, is going up on Monday. So please be sure to check it out when it comes out, and all our episodes coming out later. You can always check in to see when we'll be posting those and try and be the first to listen to it. As always, we love making this content for you. It's fun for us. I hope you all got to enjoy it. Please feel free to reach out. If you like what you're listening to, make sure to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's the ChadBurn Show on YouTube. You can just search it. It'll be right there, and click that subscribe button and give us some love. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining in as always. And if you ever need us, reach out. But I hope you have a good evening and good night.